Good evening to our viewers at home. Good evening on Zoom, on Facebook, on all the pages and the profile. Good evening on YouTube as well. I hope that so far your has been mine has been busy, but awesome. It's been good as well. Um, Tonight we are talking sexual abuse, trauma, unattended childhood trauma, um, specifically talking on sexual abuse, not just general trauma. This is the third week now that we're dealing with trauma. The first week we spoke about trauma and PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. Last week we spoke about trauma bonds. This week, tonight, we are talking about sexual abuse, trauma that results from sexual abuse. I have my wonderful friend here, Nwabisa Kancho Lufunzo, who is a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And as usual, we have our resident psychologist, Darius, and his many other names, which I'm not going to say because I always say them wrong. We have Darius, who's joining us from a psychological point of view. So tonight's session, we're going to do it a bit different than our usual sessions. We're going to have a conversation, and Wabi is going to share her experience. I'm your host as usual, Siya Zenani. Nwabi will share her experience on sexual abuse as a child, how it affected her as a child, how it has affected her as an adult. And Darius will comment or talk about his view as a psychologist. Welcome to everyone. Nwabi, welcome, friend.
Welcome, thank you. You see, I'm used to being the one on the driver's seat, so yes. I'm the one now welcoming you.
Yes. You're usually the host. All right. I guess Darius will greet people whenever we give him a chance to talk. Let's start. Where does the journey begin? What happened? Now we're talking about you. I mean, you are now a motivational speaker. You are a founder of an amazing organization called Conversations That Matter. And we know now this looks like the beautiful final product, but we know this is not where it started. It started somewhere. There's something that led you, to be the person that you are today. So I'd like you to take us through that journey. What happened? How were you sexually abused as a child?
Okay, good evening, everybody. And thank you to Siya and Darius for giving me the opportunity to be part of the conversation today. As was introduced, my name is Nwabisa Ganjo Funzo from the Eastern Cape, but currently in Gauteng in Pretoria. I am the founder of an organization called Conversations That Matter, which is meant to have these kind of conversations with the society out there so that we can learn from one another, we can hold each other's hands, and we see that in the situations that we're going through, we are not alone. We've been through, sometimes we go through similar situations, and now you would think that you are alone because we are not having these kind of conversations. So my reason for starting Conversations That Matter was so that we have these kind of conversations, hold each other's hands, give hope to one another. So as Sia has said, I am a survivor of a child sexual abuse. So she is asking, how did it start? Well, I'm not going to take it far back as when I was born and the upbringing and all of that, but it starts from the age of 10 years. I am staying with my mother and my siblings and my stepfather. It then starts as sometimes I'm working around the house, doing house chores. I was a very responsible young girl from a very young age, very responsible. And even my younger sister who comes after me, who is 6 years younger than me, I was taking care of her at that age of 10 years. So I think I grew quicker because I was just too matured from a young age to a point that my stepfather saw a second wife in me. It would start by him starting to having the menstrual conversations with me. You see, he filled the gap because he saw that this was not happening between myself and my mother. So he saw the gap. He saw that it is not happening that my mother sits down with me and have this conversation. So I am clueless when it comes to menstruation. I am clueless when it comes to breast growing and all of that. So he began to have those conversations with me to a point now that he wants to experiment these changes that he is telling me that are going to happen in my body. So he would, as I remember the first time he started touching me, I'm washing dishes, I'm in the kitchen, I'm washing dishes, and then he comes behind me and then he touches my breast from the back. Imagine I'm 10 years, how those breasts are little tiny things that are close to non-existence. But he saw something in there, and then it grew from there. And he did it as a way of him loving me being special, me being this responsible young girl, his way of rewarding me for being responsible in the house. So he made it to seem like it's nothing wrong. At that time, I am 10 years. So to cut the long story short, he did this for 5 years, from the age of 10 until I was 15. So now someone would ask, why were you not telling your mother or you're telling someone?
Before we get there,
Yes.
He did this, as a way to reward you, as affirming you as a good girl and a responsible girl. Did you at any point see the wrongness of it? Like, did you not think that, no, man, this is not right, this is wrong?
Yes. I knew and I could see that it was wrong, but he would affirm me that he is doing it out of love as a father. Then when I started now to be serious about telling about what he's doing, then that's when he reminded me that you do not know who your father is.
Hey.
And you are stuck with me. So if you tell, you will end up in the streets. So it became now that decision that, do I go and live in the streets or do I stay and enjoy this? And he also knew that, I don't know whether it's the parents of that time or what, there was just no talking between me and my mother. There was just no mother-daughter talks. So that it can be easy for me to tell her that this is happening. And he took advantage of that. So he made sure that I am closer to him than to my mom. And I was loved more by him than my mom. So as a result, on days that I retaliate or on days that I say I'm going to tell or I make tricks and run away and all of that, he would find ways of punishing me, but he won't be the one beating me up. He will tell my mom that Nwabisa has done this and this, and then my mom would be the one beating me up, even though he was
the gap.
Yes, and she was not there when this thing that I did. She was not there to witness it, but she would listen to what this one is saying, and then I would be punished. And deep down, I know that I am being punished because I ran away when this one wanted to touch me. I ran away when this one wanted me to suck him, because that is how it started. It was him touching me, and then I had to play with his private parts and all of that. And he would make me a promise that I will not penetrate until you are 16 years. But when I started now to say I'm going to tell, his way of punishing me was through penetration. Yes.
Darius, tell me, from the psychological point of view, okay, I know there's something called grooming and all that. Would you qualify this as grooming, whereby this man first made himself available, for her, and perfected, the parental whatever relationship that he was having with her before he started sexually abusing her? Would you qualify that as grooming?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so did you ask, were you talking about grooming? Sia? Hello?
Hey, you can
Sia?
talk.
I'm saying, are you asking about
Hi.
grooming, whether this is grooming or not?
Yes, the role that he played before he started touching her inappropriately. He was there, he was available, playing the father role, making sure he was closer to her, taking her through the body changes that are going to happen to her, the periods, the growing of, boobs and all of that. Would you qualify that as grooming?
I wouldn't want to qualify that as, unless maybe we say grooming, we put it as maybe the negative side of grooming, because I mean, grooming can be, you can groom something negatively and maybe positively, but of course we know to say for a very long time we understand grooming in a very positive sense. Yeah, but I would want to understand, I would want to qualify this one as a negative form of grooming, because of what the impacts such kind of acts have on the person as they grow up. Okay, yeah, so in short, this is negative kind of grooming. You're doing the work of the enemy when he has been entrusted to do the work of protection. Okay, to protect, to care, and to bring up this little child as one of his own. So yeah, he was grooming her, but in a negative way. Yes, he was a predator instead of him being a protector.
Okay, so he was sexually grooming her. All right. Okay, going back to the conversation. Okay, you attend, this starts, gets to a point where he's not just touching you, but he's also penetrating you. You come up with ways, to disturb him in his ways, and you are punished for that. When does Mama get to know about this?
Okay, I am 15 years old. I'm doing standard 7. And I decided that, you know what, this is enough. I am no longer going through with this. So I plan in my mind my exit. He has already told me that if I tell, I will end up in the streets. So I've made peace with that I will sleep under a pipe somewhere. And my mom, it didn't have a close relationship at her own home now. So it's kind of difficult to even say, I am going to speak to an aunt or an uncle or whatever. We were not that close. So this was, yes, I would go to my uncle during school holidays and all of that, but the relationship was not to that point that I would even stay full time with them. So I planned my exit, but the day that I decided that no, because I had planned that I'm going to tell at the end of my exams, after writing my standard 7 is what, grade 9.
Yeah.
After my grade 9 exams, we must accommodate the 2000s that are attending. After my grade 9 examinations, that I'm going to tell, and whether I'm chased out of the house, it doesn't matter. It's okay. There is a pipe somewhere. There are other people who are surviving, but I want to continue with school. But the house where we were staying, our room as the kids, it was a 4-room house, 2 bedrooms, a lounge and a kitchen, those normal setup kind of houses. So our room had a leak as the kids. So now it was raining and we were forced to come and sleep in the parents' room. So our mattress was on the floor and we are sleeping there. I'm sleeping with my younger sister, the one who's 6 years younger than me, who is their firstborn. Remember, this is a stepfather to me. Yes, this is a stepfather to me, and their firstborn together is the one who comes after me, that 6-year-old girl. Yes. So I hear some sounds on the bed and some moaning and all of that. And at night, I wasn't really sleeping. Even now, anyway, my sleep is very affected, but we will come to that, to the effects of all of this. It's difficult. It was difficult for me to sleep because I know that he's coming and he would just come and lift my Nando's kind of style. He would come and do and throw some Nando's on me and do his thing, and then he goes. And I'm quiet at that time, no noise, nothing. So even on this day, he started doing it with my mother on the bed, and I'm sleeping on the floor with my younger sister.
And because of experience, you know what he's doing.
Yes. And then when he finishes there, just a few moments later, he then comes down to me. And then in my mind, I'm like, Mommy is awake.
You know,
there is absolutely no way that she's sleeping, because she was busy not long ago. So she should be awake. I'm waiting for her to say something.
Stop him,
Say something. But she didn't come through for me. She kept quiet. She didn't say a thing until he finished, and then he went back to bed. I continued to sleep, and then this man was working shifts. So during that period, he was working 6 to 6, which means he was working from 6 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. Yes. So he prepared for work in the morning and left. And then I prepared for school, and my mom was preparing for work also. So I then tell her that, you know what, this has been going on. It started since I was 10. And I give her all the details, that even the time, because remember when I was 10, I was doing standard 2. Standard 2 is grade what?
4.
Grade 4. Yeah, my daughter is doing grade 4. I was doing standard 2 at that time, and I was not allowed to carry lunch at school because school was a walking distance from home, especially on the weeks that his shifts, he's at home during lunchtime. So he would just make sure that I don't carry lunch. And then during lunchtime, I go home, and instead of eating, the only thing that will be in my mouth will be his dick. And then I go back to school. And when I go back to school, I must be a child again. You know, I must program my mind as I'm leaving home that, hey, girl, wake up. Now you're going to be a grade 2 child. You are no longer the woman that you were a moment ago. So go back to school and be a child and continue playing with other children. So that was the kind of life. So now I tell my mom all this. And I even tell her that even last night, like I was waiting for her to say, I heard or what. But instead, she said, I've been suspecting all this time that this was happening, and I was waiting for you to tell me. That was what she said. I have been suspecting all this time that this is happening, and I was waiting for you to tell me. And to cut it short, yeah, that was the end of it. There was never a conversation again about this. There was never a confrontation to say, Nwabisa says you are doing this to her or what. No.
What did this mean to you as a 15-year-old who has been suppressing all of this, and you finally get a breakthrough, finally get a moment of courage and confide to a person who you expect to step in for you, to come through for you? What did her response mean to you?
Rejection. That I'm unworthy. I'm not worthy to be fought for. I'm not worthy for her that she could confront her husband about what I'm saying he is doing to me. So I just felt rejected. I felt alone. And at that time, I do not know my father. I've been all this time when these things started from the age of 10 years, him having all these sexual advances on me to a point of penetration. And when he told me that you are stuck with me because you do not know who your father is. So I've been asking questions. I've been asking questions about my father and all of that. And I'm not told clear direction of, I know his names, but I do not know where he is. You see, so now I have no father. Now the only parent
that you have,
yes, the one person that I expect on this life that she should walk the wire for me, she doesn't. And the worst thing, Sia, is that it continued even after I told her.
Before we get to that, I have a lot of things and a lot of words that I could use, to talk to your
See,
mother,
I have a question.
right,
I have
or
a
whatever,
question,
but I cannot. Darius, please come in.
Yeah, I don't know. Was your mom working?
Yes. And I actually, she was the one who was even earning more in the house.
Okay, so now, you see now, this is where now, I don't know whether we're going to talk about this at the end of the program, but allow me just to chip in. So,
Please do.
It just makes me think. Yeah, it makes me think a lot. Sorry, I'm part of the panel, but it's the story is it's so moving that I'm even lost. I even forgot that I'm part of the panel. But it makes me think that women. I was attending a certain workshop recently, the other week. Organized by the American Embassy. It was a mental health workshop, and there's something that the mental health expert said. To some extent, I had reservations agreeing with her, but I think now it's making sense. She said that women have a very big role to play in the morality of the society. And sometimes it boils back to these decisions you make when it comes to marriage, your life partner. Okay, because because I'm now what I'm having in mind is a single mother, and sometimes you may not be a single mother. You could be married to somebody, and you've never had children before, and that's the first time you're getting married, or you are even the children you have you share, but then maybe you are keeping a niece, a cousin, or just a female young person, a dependent. Okay, and these things could be happening, but now it comes back to one's values as a woman. Okay, because I want to believe from the way you're narrating, if I'm to create a context from the way you're narrating, this sounds like a woman who is ready to keep a marriage at whatever expense. Okay, all that this woman needs is a husband. Okay, to maintain that Mrs. Status. And so to maintain that Mrs. Status, it doesn't matter what price that comes with. And so she goes ahead. So that's why it's very important, women, as you choose as you decide to get married, please ensure that you are in a safe space yourself. Do not go ahead and get married when that marriage comes at a very big cost. Okay, because this is what it leads to. Please, you can proceed.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, your sound was getting bad there at some point, but I think we got your point. Okay, this is a question to you, Darius. Would this be a case of, I mean, if you are a woman and you are willing to keep a marriage at whatever cost, even if that cost means killing your children, because this is literally like killing your own child. If you, what is happening? Like what could it be a case of a person who had her own unresolved trauma, and which I don't know, forced them in a way to be in this situation where they don't see a life without this man. They don't see a life without the title of being a missus. And therefore, whatever is in the way of her keeping the marriage can be bulldozed, can be destroyed, can be whatever. It's okay. I know she is raping you. I've suspected it. Yeah, you've confirmed it. Okay, but I'm not going to do anything about it. What is that? Could it be a case of this person, maybe they had their own psychological issues or their own unresolved trauma, hence they're in this state?
Yeah, actually, you've answered it. That's why I was saying I'm not sure whether this is going to come at the end of this, but let me say, since you've asked, let me answer.
Your sound is very bad, my friend. I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay, can I join you via Zoom? Is it okay? Is it okay if I can join you via Zoom?
Join via Zoom, yes.
Okay. Let me just join through Zoom.
Okay. Whilst Darius is switching platforms. Okay. You are 15, you've told mama, and mama is like, duh. Kind of situation, it's like, yeah, always known, I've always suspected. Now you've confirmed it. And she does nothing about this. You feel rejected. You feel unworthy, unloved, because clearly this man that once claimed to love you as a father has proven that he does not love you. And mama has joined him in his wagon of hating you, and you are now exposed there, and you realize that I'm alone. And what does that do to you? How do you move on from here?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, we get you 100%.
Okay, sorry for that technical problem. So I was saying that it is indeed an issue of a lot of personal unresolved issues. One thing I must say, first of all, let me begin with single mothers. Okay, I don't know, for some reason, I don't know, maybe it's just an African thing, but unfortunately, our socialization in the African society is that has created this perception that when you've got a child, it means your value as a woman has reduced. So much so that the chances of you getting married are very low. All right. And unfortunately, honor in the African society, usually for adults is when you attain certain social achievements such as marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. I don't know if
you can continue. You can continue.
All right. Okay. Sure. Yes. So unfortunately, the society has got certain expectations of us. At my age, people expect me to be working. People expect me to be married. People expect me to have some children. So even when I tell them I'm single, I'm not married, even if I'm working, I mean, it's very surprising, and they'll even questioning, what are you waiting for? What's wrong? That those things. So looking at, it's like mostly women, this doesn't settle well, doesn't go well with women. Okay, so a woman who is, an average woman in an African context is so scared about whether she's going to get married or not.
True.
Okay, so this, unfortunately, unless this is resolved, such fears are resolved. Okay, unless you get the right perspective, this will trickle down to your next generation. Okay, it will, because you get married quite all right, but that does not necessarily sort out the problem. You try at all cost, at whatever cost, to keep that marriage, even when that person is useless. Okay, you would want to still keep this person. That's the reason why some people actually even die in these marriages. You're being accused, but because you fear being a widow. There's somebody I remember who, sharing this with, of course, clinician, minus mentioning the name. Somebody who told me that she feared leaving the marriage because there is that history of people getting divorced in their family, and so she fears the tag of you can't keep a man. You understand what I mean? You can't keep a man. So if you're going to go into, I always tell people that please don't look for a counselor to counsel you only after you start having challenges with your husband. Okay, please get counseled even at the time you're addicted. It's very important, so that certain perspectives are brought home. You get to understand certain things about yourself, about your partner, and about the institution of marriage or relationship that you're involving yourself in. Should you go ahead without getting certain fears, certain anxieties, certain perspectives flattened, you will pay a big price with such things where you get into a marriage, you're being abused, your children are being raped, your children are being sexually molested, your nieces are being molested. You will not speak because something big. So indeed, unresolved issues. So you discover that now where the problem comes in, when you have unresolved issues as a parent or as somebody who is getting into marriage or a relationship, people who suffer in most cases, because you're going to suffer yourself. People who suffer more are those that you're going to keep, those that are going to produce. Because not even the people that the children you're going to have with this man are safe. No. It's just a matter of time. If you can have that with somebody who is born from the woman that, even if he's not the father, it's just a matter of time. If Noabisa leaves, it's just a matter of time when he's on gross breasts going to start fondling. So, yeah.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you for that chipping in there. Aish, this is a very, it's a very touching story. It's a very touching story, and it makes you, it makes you wonder, because naturally when you think of a mother, you think of someone who would jump in front of a bullet for you. You think of someone who would do anything to protect you. So it's shattering when you discover that this person that I thought has my back, this person that I thought would stand up for me and do anything to protect me, is actually okay with me being, is actually sacrificing me because this person is not doing anything about my predicament because she wants to keep her marriage. And that's shattering. Okay, friend, you said this continues even after you've told your mom.
Yeah.
Until when?
Until the end of exams. And when I finished writing exams, I then packed my bags. Usually at the end of exams, I would go for school holidays either to my uncle or to my grandma being my mom's aunt.
Okay.
Because I don't know my mom's mom. I've never met her. She passed on while my mom was still doing standard 8. So when I was born, she was already not there.
Okay.
Yes. So the grandmothers I knew were aunts to my mom. Yes. So it was known that end of exams, I am going to my grandma or I'm going to my uncle. So the difference with this time, I packed all my belongings. I packed everything. I then went to grandma and I told my grandma, and she just cried and said, this is not the first time that this is happening in the family. And even the last time it was put under the carpet, but now as my grandma, she's willing to put her life on the block because she will not allow this to happen no more. So she is taking me, but where she was staying, and if I want to continue going to school where I was going, because she said, I want you to have good education. And the school that you are attending right now, it's one of the best schools. So I wouldn't want to take you from there and study in the villages with me. And yet, if you stay with me in the villages, you will need to take 2 taxis to go to school. And I will not afford that. So the least I can do is to speak to your aunt, which is now my mom's cousin.
Which is this grandmother's daughter.
No, another.
Okay.
Yeah. Long thing. So she spoke to her and she also said, your mom is not talking to me anyway. So I stand to lose nothing. You can come and stay with me. I will take you in. So that's how I escaped. So now by that December of that year, when I was doing standard 7, I then went to stay with my aunt. Then come January now, when I'm supposed to go back home, then I tell my mom that, girl, I'm not coming back. And then she says, why? Because this and this.
Is that even a question?
Yeah, why? Well, she was very surprised. She didn't understand why I'm not coming back. And then she then said, well, if you are not coming back, then you go on your own, you bring everything of mine. So now all the clothes that I left with are hers. She wants her clothes back. If I'm going to leave her house, I must leave on my own without her things
that she bought with her money.
That she bought with her money for me. But anyway, I didn't return them. I continued to stay with my aunt. And my aunt said, I'm not going to break the relationship between you and your mother. It is a mother-daughter relationship, but you will see for yourself who she is. That those were my aunt's words. You will see for yourself who she is. So here is this is how the setup is going to be. You will stay with me. I provide you with a roof. I make sure you eat. I make sure you are clean and all of that. You are taken care of. You are sick, I will take care of you. But in terms of everything relating to school, you will ask your mom. That setup for me was fine. But at that time, I think Teresa would want him to come in on this one. I'm still in denial. Like, I'm still not accepting that my mom has rejected me. The love I have for her, hey, she would call and want me to meet her somewhere and do something for her. I would run because I wanted to do anything to buy her love. I wanted to do anything for her to love me. But I remember one day I went to, I asked, in fact, for school shoes. And then she said, we must meet at the taxi rank. On this day that she's saying we must meet at the taxi rank, it's payday. The excitement to see, my heart was pumping like this, that mama is going to give me money for shoes. I ran the way I made myself to look so beautiful. I am making myself beautiful for my mom because I wanted to love me. I wanted to see a beautiful girl that is worthy to be loved. I put on the best outfit for her. I go down to the taxi rank. I wait until she comes out of the taxi. The smile on my face. Mommy is getting off the taxi. I go to her. I'm expecting a hug. I go and Mama is just standing there with her handbags and her plastics. And then she asks, what is the problem? I asked, no, I don't have school shoes in you. And I'm telling her, you know, I did all that I could in my power to get her love. And then she says, when you were tired of sleeping with my husband, you decided to leave me. So the people that you are working for, they will buy you those shoes. In fact, she put it in isiXhosa that aba bantu amandla akho aphelela kubo. Translate to see.
I can't.
Yeah, you're gonna have to translate that.
Basically, where your power or where your strength is being used, or the people that are benefiting from your strength, those are the people that will buy you shoes.
Yes.
Because when you were tired, so she puts it in such a way that she was just sleeping with her husband. When you were tired of sleeping with my husband, you decided that you are going to trade your power somewhere else, your strength somewhere else. So those people that are benefiting from you right now, those are the people that will buy you school fees.
Because all that she wanted from me was me doing the house chores, taking care of the kids and all of that. So now she feels that I dumped her by going to stay with my aunt.
There's no one to look after her baby. There's no one to do the house chores. There's no one to satisfy her husband.
Exactly. And remember,
in other words, she was like, because you see, she adds the aspect of her sleeping, her being tired of sleeping with the husband. So in other words, she was like helping her service the husband, if I may put it in a crude way.
Yes, part of her duties was to, part of her duties were to help her service the husband.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So she said, when you were tired of sleeping with my husband, then you decided to leave me. So the people who are now benefiting from you, the people whom you are doing house chores for, they are the ones who are going to buy you those shoes. You know, imagine now me going down to the taxi rank to meet my mom with a smile. I've made myself beautiful. You know, it makes me, sometimes when people preach that Bible verse that like a bride making herself beautiful for the groom and all of that, I made myself so beautiful that day because I wanted my mother to love me. I wanted my mother to accept me. I wanted her to see a princess in me. I wanted her to see a daughter that is worthy to be loved. But despite all the efforts that I went through to make myself beautiful for her, she rejected me still. Now that's me going back up like a chicken that's been thrown with water. Hey, there is no energy to run now and all of that. I get home and my aunt didn't even ask what happened.
She knew.
She just said, from now on, everything school related, I will do it. There's not even a single day until I finished matric that she ever asked, what did your mom say on that day? She never. Because the first thing she said the first time was, I am not going to break the relationship between you and your mother. You are going to see for yourself. Now, when I came back on that day, like a disappointed chicken, then she didn't ask, she just said, from now on, anything school related, adding on top of everything else that I've been doing for you, I will take over your school. Then the following year, I was...
Allow me to interrupt.
Yeah.
Since time is running out, allow me to interrupt. So here is one thing I've noticed from my clients, because sometimes I get to have some, minors. I don't know what relationship your mother had with your father. Sometimes such behaviors come as a result of, the relationship a woman has with the father of, her child. So it could be that maybe she had a very bad relationship with your dad, and he left scars, bleeding scars on her. And then I don't know, do you resemble your father? Because most likely this is gonna happen.
Maybe you look like him. You remind him.
Resemble your father?
Well, I resemble my father's sister, but as far as I know, I was the reason they broke up because my mom and dad were married.
Yes. Now it makes sense. You don't have to go far. Now that makes sense. So mostly this happens because you see, it's a very unusual for a woman to hate their child for whatever reason. Very unusual. Okay, but then if the woman had a very bad blood with the baby daddy, okay, the child stands as a constant reminder of those things. That's the reason why it's important, mothers, wherever you're watching us from, resolve your issues. Go and see a therapist. Ensure that you don't turn your anger to the child. Okay, so the problem is, it's very easy when you break up with somebody for you to delete their photos, for you to tear their pictures, to break all the gifts they break and burn all the gifts that they bought for you, and just anything that can remind you. But think of it, how easy is it to get rid of a child? Okay? So it's not easy.
I'm gonna share something
for your mother. For your mother to come and shoot you or to just cut you in pieces. So the best is, let me abuse this child. So it could be that you are a constant reminder of her unresolved issues. But look at where it leads. And to be very frank with you, sorry to assume this way, but I'm meant to believe your mother obviously knew about all this. So even that thing of saying I was suspecting was just a way of some PR, just a cover up. She obviously knew what was happening. But then when that happened, when your stepdad is sleeping with you and she knows, for her she feels good because she wants anything that can injure you, that can harm you because of the pain or the hurt that you constantly bring about when she sees you. She remembers the former husband, or I don't know whether it's a former husband or former boyfriend. So that is very common when a woman has unresolved issues with their ex. They usually turn their anger to the child.
I usually say that at least they left you with a broken heart only. Some of us were left with children that look like them. So, so if it's just a broken heart, it's okay. We can deal with that.
These children look exactly like them.
You'll be looking at your child's food, and you look at this food, and you're like, "Oh, I know this food, man." I wanted to ask you, Darius. We'll come back to you, my friend.
Mhm.
We usually deal with cases of minors being sexually abused for years. They don't share. Like Nobisa didn't tell anyone for 5 years. And when she finally got the courage to tell anyone, it was watered down. And I want to believe you continued for many other years and not telling anyone. And you didn't report didn't open a case until a certain extent, if you did open it, and stuff like that. And it's now 2022. We're still dealing with people. I wanted to say idiots, but I'll be professional. We're still dealing with people that ask that very annoying question. Why did she not say? Why did she take 10 days to report? Why did she take a month to report? Why did she take 5 years to talk about it? And I know from my experience and from my professional experience, I do understand why victims keep quiet and they don't share. I understand how difficult it is to talk about rape, how difficult it is to even go to the police station and open a rape case, because our police system is, something else. So, from a psychologist's point of view, please come in and tell us what would be happening in the victim's mind when this abuse is happening and they decide not to share with anyone. And how best can people help those who are around
so,
this person?
Before you get me confused, let me answer question by question.
Okay.
So let's start with what's going on in the mind. Now, children, or when human beings are born, there's this theory, and I believe in it, that we are born with an empty slate. Our mind is like, a blank CD, a blank disk. All right. So a CD will play or will show what you feed it. Okay, garbage in, garbage out. I think you understand this better. Yeah.
Yeah.
You are an IT professional. Now, children have no problem with communication. What their communication style, or the level to the extent to which they're going to be free to communicate with you, is determined by the environment that you create for them. Okay. There are kids who are very, sometimes I've sometimes laughed, hearing a kid maybe, so open-minded, just, I'm going to touch my buttocks, like that. I'm going to do this. Don't do this. Not manners. They're like that. So the issue of children finding a safe space has a lot to do with the environment a parent or the guardian creates.
Yes.
Okay. A child will not be so open if you've not created that environment. There is a certain friend of mine who told me that, his father complained to him that because he used to live with his parents up until a certain age. I think up until somewhere at the age of 28, 27. Then later on moved to a different city. And so the dad was complaining, "Oh, you don't call me, you don't check up on me." And then the guy responded to the father and said, this is not how you brought us up. You would sometimes leave the country, go to South Africa, and would never hear from you. Maybe you'd only communicate with mom. Sometimes rarely so. Okay, sometimes you could go out to another city, 1 week, 2 weeks, and you never bother ask mom to put us on the phone. Okay, so this is how we've grown up. So you don't have to demand something that is beyond what you've raised us, beyond the standard that you brought us up in. So what I'm trying to say is, the issue of children or young people opening up has a lot to do with the environment we create for them. Even just the language, because one of the things that I've, I think, grown up finding difficult myself, has been how I remember there was a time I found these two boys. They were boys. Yeah, they were boys. Okay, I think one must have been around the age of 4. The other one must have been around the age of 6. But I think they were just 2 years apart. So I found them having I found them having anal sex. Okay, so when I found them, when I caught them, they started crying. I was young also, but then when I'm taking them to their parent, who's my neighbor, and the parent thinks maybe I've beaten them. Mothers are so defensive. I had difficulties describing what they were doing, not because I did not know what they were doing. I knew, but just how do I speak this out? Like, how do I say, these guys were, doing it, and they were doing it from the anus, I found it difficult. And that's exactly what the challenges these kids have that new parents are keeping. Even the right language to use, okay, I'm trying to understand, I'm trying to imagine Nwabisa is trying to explain that this man was penetrating. What language would she even use? Because they've never had that conversation with the mother, So it is the role of the guardian to create that enabling environment for the child to open up to, even the words they're going to use to describe, it's you, okay? And then at the same time, children usually battle with the thought, will they believe? All right, will they believe? This seems like too big. Will they believe? So you need to give them that assurance, protect them, okay, listen to them, okay. Sometimes, of course, the kids can exaggerate certain things, but trust me, they will not exaggerate something from lie. They will exaggerate something from the truth.
Yeah.
At least a good percentage of it will be the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think you wanted to ask a question like how best can I don't know whether I've covered that other question.
You have covered it. I was going to ask how best can parents come in and try to help their children, to trust them, you know. But you've already answered in that.
Okay. Maybe let me, as I conclude this, let me say this. The other thing is, I know Africanity or Africa, I don't know if I can call it Africanism, let me call it Africanity. Africanity comes with a lot of taboos.
Yeah.
Where we are told parents, I don't know in your country, South Africa there, but you know, in my country, parents are not supposed to have talk around sex with their children. This is expected, the only person expected to do that is the aunt or the grandmother. But even then, it's not in the context of, issues to do with, sexual abuse or what, but in the context of sex, in the context of marriage, you know, when they get married and so on and so forth. Okay, but now let's begin to challenge some of these taboos or some of these traditions. Of course, not everything African is bad, but I want to believe there are some things we can really see that these are not adaptive. These are maladaptive. These are not working. Okay, let's begin to change this. Let's talk to our children. I'll give an example. Say comprehensive sexuality education. You shouldn't wait until your child is 10 or 15 years. No, even at the age of 4. At the age of 3, you can still have that talk. Of course, it's not, I know you may be afraid of, okay, how do I describe sex? How do I describe rape to this young child? It's about the language you use. Okay, so at that age, you can use language that is so understandable to them.
Yeah.
For example, you can talk about things like your private part is like a tortoise, or some people call it a tortoise. Okay, what happens when you touch the head of the tortoise? It shrinks, it goes inside. Okay, so even you, when somebody touches your private part, behave like a tortoise. Shrink, go inside your shell. What is the shell? Now you describe what the shell is to the child. Okay, that's a safe circle. Now it's you to define the safe circle for your child. Not every, because some people, the safe circle may be the teacher, but at the same time, the same teachers could be the same abusive people.
Yeah.
Okay. A safe circle can be big brother, but at the same time, big brother can be the same abusive. So it's you as a parent define what the safe circle is to the child. Say, okay, Uncle so is your safe circle. When somebody tries to touch your private part, run to Uncle so. Go and report to Uncle so. Okay. Or you can say your private part is like a butterfly. When you try to touch a butterfly, what happens? It flies away. All right. Use language that is so familiar to the child. Begin early, so that when the child begins to, because 10 years is quite advanced, you know. But if the parent had started early, it was going to begin. So please, let's try to break these barriers. I want to conclude by saying there's a certain lady who shared with me, because I was so amazed at how she's this responsible lady. Okay, responsible, very assertive, and she doesn't tolerate nonsense. And so I asked her what happened, what really led to that, and she tells me how instrumental the father was. Say, I grew up as my father's best friend. We would talk about anything with my dad. My dad would share this with me, and I was like, wow, the power of, starting certain conversations early.
Yeah. Thank you, friend. Thank you so much. I wanted to actually agree with you to say the environment that we raise our children in says a lot, speaks a lot. In my home, there's no conversation that is off record. We talk about anything and everything. I've always been a strange parent in that I've never been able to talk baby talk with my children. I've always addressed them as humans, as adults. And as a result, the sex conversations have started way early. I've always been very open with them, and we talk about anything and everything. Some of the topics that we talk about, some people go like, my son last year, who's 14 now, struck up a circumcision conversation with my brother. My brother was like, hey, Sia, what are those things that you're teaching this boy? I'm like, in my house, we talk about everything. We talk about sex. We talk about everything. Recently, there was a sex issue in the complex where I stay, and I called my son, and I asked him, are you having sex? And he looked at me, was like, Mama, why would I do something stupid like that? I mean, you've taught me already the consequences of having sex. Do you think I'm ready for those consequences? I'm only 14. Do you think anyone in my age would have sex? I'm like, I have to know. I'm asking him to know because This is what somebody said to me. This is what somebody said to me. I am asking you, as the person who's being mentioned in this equation, tell me the truth. There's, with me, there's no off the table conversation. You can talk to me about anything. If like can tell me when you're tempted, or it's like, Mom, I'm a child. I can never, I will never be ready for that. You told me that already, that consequence of having sex is having children and STIs and whatnot. And I'm not ready for those kind of things. None of my friends are. So none of us are having sex. I was like, good boy. And we had a conversation. So it's very true that for parents out there, set the tone, set the environment, for you to have those conversations with your children, so that if one day this happens, they are free to come to you because they already know that myself and mommy talk about everything. Unfortunately, in Nabi's case, mommy was distant. Stepdaddy fed that the distance more and more by making sure that mommy is the bad cop here. She's the one who punishes. She's the one who gets reported on things that didn't go right and all of that. And he is the darling, or he's the good cop in this case. So it's unfortunate, but as parents, we can do better. We can do better, so that if our children ever get into situations like this, they can trust us, to tell us. Okay, I'm going to add.
Yeah, just there. Sorry, I have to comment on that one. I would want to say this, especially to single mothers or to those who have got kids. Maybe you were widowed or whatever, but you're now getting married, or you want to get married, or you've gotten married to somebody. People you get married to who always want to, who always pick the signals of how the amount of value placed on your child. So the other thing I want to believe is probably stepdaddy to Novisa could have started doing that because he realizes to what extent Novisa's mother valued Novisa.
Yeah.
Probably she might have even been telling him how much she hated Novisa. Like, I don't like this girl. She reminds me of that, that predator of my ex, like that. So the way, people always buy us at the value that we present to them.
Hey.
Okay, somebody's not going to buy you at 10 rands. I mean, at 1,000 rands when you've tagged yourself at 10 rands or 10 kwacha.
Sure.
Somebody will buy you at exact. So how somebody is going to treat you? Hello?
That's a mouthful. You've said a mouthful there.
Yes.
I get you.
How your new man or your new husband or your new boyfriend or fiancé is going to treat the people that he has found in your home, whether they're your nieces or whatever, depends on how much how much value you place. They're going to see it through you. Okay, you mistreat your nieces, you mistreat your cousin, you mistreat your sisters. There's a way you speak about them. You don't. So your husband, your friend, or your fiancé is going to see that. He's going to pick signals, and he will know to say, even if I sleep with any of these, after all, she doesn't care about them.
Yeah.
She doesn't like them. So I want to believe Novisa's stepdad could have started doing that because he realized. Because sorry to say this, dear men, our fellow men, but I would say this. Somehow men, they're beasts sexually. When it comes to sex, it's unfortunately the limits are few. Okay, so now sometimes what would make that man, your boyfriend, your fiancé, or your husband, to respect your young, even right now maybe we want to zero it to a child because for Novisa she was a stepchild. But I also want to talk about it in general because there is also a young sister of a woman who's being abused sexually by the husband of the woman, of the sister. There is a cousin of a woman out there who's being sexually abused by the elder cousin's husband. Okay, their nieces, and so on and so forth. So how you treat them and the conversations you have about the people that this man has found in your life, and just how you relate with them is going to tell a lot to this man and how he should relate with them.
Yeah.
So be careful, please be careful before you allow a man into your life. search yourself and ask yourself, are these people safe? They are safe to start with your relationship. If you've got a very good relationship with them, or it may not be the best, but at least if your relationship is healthy, then trust me, whichever man is going to come in your life, those people are going to be safe against such potential predators.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Darius. We've gone over an hour, but I don't want us to leave this conversation hanging like this. I'm tempted to say we'll have part 2 of it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot that we've left unsaid or that we've skipped through. But what I'd like from you now in the next 10 minutes that I'm adding, and I hope people will not leave us, what I'd like from you is, how did this, obviously we're not going to finish the whole story of how you like finally broke free and all that, is going to be long, but how did this affect you as an adult? And what steps did you take to heal yourself? Because where you are right now, you are no longer that broken little girl, but a woman that has found purpose in life, that is doing the things, to give others a voice and try to help others. So how did this affect? So the first part is, how did this affect you as an adult, and where was your turning point? How did you turn this pain and crisis into a gift?
Well, that means now I grew up as a broken young girl. As sometimes I look back and try to think to myself, but Mabi, how did you make it through those days? I seriously don't know how, because a lot was going on. Yes, maybe we need to have this conversation again, because he was then not the only person who was sexually abusing me at that time. It was like I have a tag on my forehead that this one is an easy target. So there were many others who were also sexually abusing me and making life difficult for me as a child. But anyway, growing up now to becoming an adult, now I'm also having relationships. I've also now have to do this. Consent to doing this now. And during that time that I was a child, I've never seen the room of a psychologist. Remember, so which means that there is no way that she's going to take me for counseling. So I've never seen the room of a psychologist. I've never seen the room of a social worker. So I've never been prepared or my mind to unwind from what had happened.
You never got to transition from being a raped child to being the woman that is consensually having sex?
No. I only saw the room of a psychologist only when I started working. When I saw now that this thing that had happened, because what I did, I took everything that had happened and told myself that I'm not going to entertain this and put it at the back of my mind. You see, I suppressed it. I put it at the back of my mind. I told myself that it is not going to define who I am. And, I remember when I was in tertiary, because I made a vow to myself that I am never going to live in poverty. I am never going to live without education and all of that. Education is the only thing that is going to take me out of, the reason I was studying so hard. I was studying so that I can have money, then mommy can be able to get money from me, and then she will love me. I never, I was working so hard for her to love me. She would ask 10 rand, I jump, I give her 20 rand because I want her to love me. So now I'm an adult. On my way back from work, on the news, they talk about a girl that has been raped or a girl that has been sexually abused. No matter how good of a day I had, my day will just go boom. And now I have a partner, then he comes from behind and touches me, playing with me. then my day goes boom. All those reminders, all those things, now they started coming back. Remember, I had suppressed, and as I was growing up, I wasn't having sex, I was not having relationships, so there was no one who was coming close to me. Now, when I grow older and now someone is coming close to me, then that's when all these things started to come back. That's when they started to affect me. That's when I even started to be diagnosed with depression. From that childhood trauma, unattended childhood trauma, that I grew up and went into adulthood with it. Now I'm having, you know, I have 3 kids here. All of them are through C-section. I do not have a child that I delivered on normal birth because I didn't want anything, any pain that is going to remind me of what was happening back then. So all my children are C-section. I do not want anything that is going to be a reminder, that is a slightest thing that is going to be a reminder of what my stepfather was doing to me. So now this trauma is not only sexual abuse, it's also rejection.
Rejection from mommy.
Yes, it's also rejection. It's also, now I'm a mother and I don't have a pattern to cut from. Hey, Darius is talking about preparing an environment for our children, for them to be able to speak to us freely. On my side, how do I start to have a conversation with my child when there was never a conversation with me? How do I start that conversation? You see, how do I start and teach my daughter how to use a pad, whereas I found my way of, you know, when I started using pads, it would go down with a leg because I didn't know how to, because no one taught me except for this man, and the man who's teaching me how to use a pad never used a pad in his life. But he's teaching me that you are going to go on periods and you will use a pad. You see, so now how do I sit down with my daughter? I have to Google, see. I have to Google how to sit down and talk with my daughter. She's 9. I have a 13-year-old boy. How do I start having conversations? Because I have no pattern to cut from. I have absolutely no pattern. There is no father, there is no mother. I am just on my own. So how do I create this environment? You see, a child wakes up in the morning, I prepare them for school. When they come back, it's playing games and all of that. There is no time to sit down with the children until I was like, you know what? You cannot repeat. You have to be a cycle breaker. You cannot repeat the same mistakes that happen. You know how this affected you, and therefore you cannot grow with it and implement it on your own children. So that's when I started to go through sessions with a psychologist. And also because my marriage was being threatened, because now there is somebody else now in my life who doesn't understand, who has never dealt with a sexually abused woman. All he wants is to get sex when he wants sex, and now when he doesn't understand. For him, when I don't give him sex, he feels rejected. So, and then on my side, I feel like I'm seen as a sex object because that's the only thing I'm good for. So if now you retaliate when I don't give you sex, then I'll be like, well, which means you only see me as a sex object. So it is a never-ending conversation until we both realize that there is a problem. He needs to go through therapy himself so that he can understand how to treat me. He can understand how to handle me. I also need to go through therapy so that I can be able to understand myself. I also have to understand that there are other people around me now. It was a difficult situation, but in that moment of attending therapy, I'm living with depression. It is something that I do not hide. I am because Darius maybe will confirm, because depression is something that you manage. I'm told that you never recover from it because you can relapse every now and then, but you manage it. So I am managing depression, you see, and it started from there. and the effects of it in my adult life. Seeing yourself unworthy. Whenever a man is coming your way, you are scared. Is he going to do? I was told to keep quiet. So whenever he's touching me, I keep quiet. So now, even in my adult life, even if a man is making passes towards me, it's difficult to talk and say I don't agree. I don't like what you are saying because I was told to shut up. You see, even if I'm having sex consensually now, it's keep quiet because I was told to keep quiet. So I had to learn to respond. I had to learn. It's a difficult thing. Only if men can understand the trauma that they put us through, that moment of pleasure that they are having in abusing us, if they can understand the many lives that they are destroyed. Because now it is not only my life that is destroyed. Imagine another person out there whose life was destroyed but didn't get the opportunity like me to heal and go through therapy. Now they are taking this thing and passing it onto their children. They are not having conversations with their children. Their children are suffering because mommy went through this. So it is not only the victim who is now suffering from this, but it is everybody else in their lives. So only if men, I'm going to say men in this case because we're talking about sexual abuse in the context of a man abusing a child, yes, a girl child. So only if they can understand that trauma, it is a moment of pleasure for them. It is something that they do and it passes, even if you rape someone just once, of which for me it was a repeated a thing. But if you can understand the trauma that it causes, the unworthiness that you feel unloved, you feel unworthy, the only thing you are good for is to be raped, is to be done all these things that are painful. So I'm glad you are saying to be continued because there's just a lot to say. But my life was destroyed. I've been in and out of mental health institutions trying to get back my life because it was stolen away from me. But I've been trying to get back my life. But I then told myself that my suffering, I'm going to use it to save others. I will talk about it so that others can learn from my experiences. Hence, founding conversations that matter, because we go through similar experiences, but if I could survive it, it means you can too. If there were ways for me to be saved, it means the little girl out there who's going through the same thing can be saved too. And we are not going to know how others went through these similar experiences if we are not having these conversations. Hence, on my side, I decided to start conversations that matter. And I believe that is also the reason you started Beyond Broken, because you wanted to share your experiences, to tell another little girl out there, to tell another Makoti out there, to tell another wife out there that you are not alone. I've been there, I survived, you can also survive.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess it's been a very heavy topic. There's very few comments from Facebook today. We usually have a lot of comments, and I see on Zoom we're having technical issues with comments. Seems like it's opened for hosts only, and the people are not commenting, and it's not allowing them to comment. But yeah, one comment from Facebook. Okay, one was saying, "Yo, oh my God, I guess it's when, I think it's when we were telling about what happened with your mom at the Texas rank." And this one from Chilana is, "Men are sexually beasts." Exactly what's been going through my mind. He's just concurring with what Darius was saying. Folks, it's been a good almost 1.5 hours now. Thank you for
I don't know if we can allow just one question.
There was a question. There was a hint from Jack.
Okay, Chilala has raised.
Okay, I am asking him to unmute. Chilala, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Since nobody wants to raise a hand, let me just make a comment. Okay, I have unmute. Are you getting me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. You can talk, Chilala.
Okay, I hope you are getting me. Yes. Yeah, from the genesis of this story that she had. I'm actually talking. I'm talking.
Continue.
From this story, it appears like there is what is called means that they're going to give you a lot of love, you know. Whether it's fake love, a lot of care, so that they can get something in return. The stepfather used that he realized that there was no love that was coming from the mom, and so he put himself in a situation whereby he's giving out a lot of care, a lot of love. He knew that what he wanted in return was actually to do what? To benefit by giving out that. So he won the trust through the care and the love that he was showing. And let me say that these men do not only do to women, okay, of their own age in dating relationships, you know, men use this kind of psychology. When a man wants something from a woman, even when it's just, he is going to show a lot of care, a lot of love. And as if perpetually does that, you know, he's going to win a woman, and the woman is going to do what? To get in love with that man. And so she's going to give him everything. Then he withdraws, as long as he was only doing it in order to do what? To get some sexual benefit. So this is a
Network. My Zoom disappeared. Okay, it's coming back. Sorry, guys. Zoom just cut us off, but it's coming back. Okay, that's taking longer than expected. Okay. Sorry about that. We got, and I'm muted. So sorry. Sorry about that. We got disconnected, but we are back. So we missed the last. Yeah, we can hear you now. We missed the last part of Chilala's comment.
Okay, so there's a comment in the, I don't know if you're able to see the comment.
Yeah, we can see the chats.
Yeah, let me just read the comment, but I think most of those things we can continue them next week.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, a lot of people are agreeing that it was a heavy conversation, very deep. Okay, someone says okay, great conversation. I was triggered as expected, but I just need some help on this. We are always having these conversations around mothers need to create a safe space so children can tell you about the abuse if it happens. I feel like we completely leave perpetrators out of this. When will we bring perpetrators to the table? Or when will we have interventions targeted at perpetrators? Okay, for me, it's very difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it's very difficult. You wanted to say, Darius?
go ahead.
Okay. I was going to say, personally, I feel like it's very difficult to engage perpetrators. One of the reasons being that most of the time, perpetrators are people that are committed. I'm going to use that word very loosely there. But I feel like most of the time, perpetrators are committed to their evil doing. And they don't change unless they want to change. It's very difficult to engage them to say, guys, change, stop doing this and whatnot, because I feel like it does not yield much results. It's hard, it's disheartening. It's very sad that we have to preach to the converted. Like we have to talk to the victims, or to talk to the people that are taking care of children and all that. But I feel that's all that we can do, to say, be careful, try and be there for your children and all that. But it's tough, guys. It's tough to engage perpetrators because they don't usually want to change until they don't change. They don't do anything about this until they want to change. With Nwabi's story, I know she didn't mention this, but because I know a bit of the story, I know she was not the first person he was abusing. He was sexually abusing. He had done it before and had gotten away with it. And he probably continued after her. We don't know. So what do you say to such a person? How do you engage such a person? How do you say, whoa, stop what you're doing is wrong, so that they don't know that is wrong, So it's that's for me, that's the reason why I always go like, let me focus on what I think I can have control over, because I do not have control over perpetrators. I don't know if Darius wanted to say something.
Yeah, I actually totally agree with you, Sia. And the reason why I agree with you is that healing is a choice we make. Okay? Healing is a choice we make. Sometimes, let me just give an example. If you're sick, maybe because of some circumstances we found ourselves in that we did not choose, maybe the place where you live, maybe, and so on and so forth. But you're not going to always rely on that to sustain your life, to say, okay.
Darius? I don't know what happened to Darius's sound. Okay, he's on mute now. Please unmute yourself again. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but we have truly run out of time a lot. This was a great conversation. Thank you guys for joining us. We know that this one was heavy, especially because it's coming from the person who experienced it, Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for engaging us, and the comments, the questions. We will try our best to bring this up again, whether it's the next week or the other, so that we can finish Nwabi's story, because we didn't, and engage further with you guys. And I know this is a trigger for a lot of people, especially because we're talking sexual abuse, which is something that a lot of people don't talk about, So as much as comments were very few, I know that it's not that, it doesn't mean that people are not listening, or it doesn't mean that people didn't want to say anything, but because this is a real trigger for them. And I wish you guys healing. I wish you guys health and happiness. And from us here, thank you so much. Until next week. God bless. Yes.